All right, Keely, thank you.
One of the jury's tasks was to decide on whether the FBI induced the men to commit crimes they wouldn't have otherwise thought about on their own. That's known as entrapment.
Yeah, but those cases are very difficult to prove and are rarely successful. Joining us now to break down today's partial verdict is former public defender and attorney with Levine Levine, Kirsten Holz. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, entrapment, it's a defense that's rarely used because it's rarely successful, right?
That's correct. It's a fairly new legal concept, becoming more well known in the 1980s.
Okay.
And it is difficult for defendants to prevail on an entrapment defense. However, in this case, Judge Yonker ultimately decided to instruct the jury on entrapment, which made it more difficult for the government to achieve a guilty verdict.
So what goes on in jury deliberation rooms behind the scenes?
We only really know about it when we are allowed to speak with jurors after a trial. In this case, jurors were not allowed to be questioned by any of the attorneys. That's the most helpful way to find out what a juror is thinking about a case or how they felt about a certain witness. But the length of these deliberations tell us that these jurors spent a really long time analyzing the evidence, and the length of deliberations was the best tool to tell us that it might be a not guilty.
And to follow on that, also the questions that they came back and asked the judge too.
Right.
Yes, you'll often have attorneys trying to analyze whether it's going to be a not guilty verdict or a guilty verdict based on those questions. They asked for trial transcripts. They're not entitled to trial transcripts. Right. And I think the judge handled all of those questions very, very well. But those are usually, attorneys try and read into those.
Right.
Well, so we all know this was a high-profile case. Any idea why the jury wasn't sequestered?
It's fairly uncommon for juries to be sequestered. Okay. It's very hard on jurors to be away from their family and loved ones. And really, judges only try to sequester juries if the press and media attention is so intense that it would alter their opinions, or if it would put them at danger. It's very, very rare.
Okay, real quick, one more question. What about the two men that they could not reach a verdict on? What's going to happen now?
It's hard to say. They could face additional charges on the state level. They could face additional charges federally, but of different charges. We'll have to wait and see.
All right.
Kirsten Holz, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you
being
so
with
much.
us.